our walls. They came off very easily. So obviously now we're done with these. We kind of screwed it up over here. You can see the burlap. All right, so here we are.
Should you knock it?
Hmm?
Should you hit it with the
If I have to, I will. All right, so a little bit of the plaster leaked down and kind of sealed it to the bottom. So now what we have is we have our mold. We can do this two ways. Chipping out, right? Now, theoretically, we made this flat, so it should sit on a nice flat surface. You could put it on your board if you don't have a great surface, or what you could do is put it on, we have sandbags and stuff with cushions. I like to have, if you have a flat surface, to have a nice, put it flat. Because what happens is if you have an uneven surface, maybe it goes like this, and you hit in the center, and you're hitting with a chisel to break, then that will snap your casting. So it's important that you don't do that. Now, what we're doing here is not carving, and that's important. We're actually breaking. So when I use this, I'm not going to be using my chisel. My chisel is sharp at this edge and has a little bevel, and then flat on this side. And so what I'm going to be doing is using this tool straight down rather than at an angle. If I were carving, I'd be carving like this. But I'm breaking, so I'm going to be going like this. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of nibble off the edges and start to find my surface. Anytime you see a wiggle like that, you just want to find, kind of maybe a little piece of burlap or something to keep it from wiggling. Straight down. And the plaster will break where it wants to break. And you can motivate it in certain ways, but eventually it'll snap where it needs to snap. Now, here we go, we have that surface there. And you want it, but it'll break, if you did a good release, it will break along that seam, right? That seam between new and old plaster. So what we want to do is just straight down, nibble off some of these pieces. And what I do is I tap it until it snaps, and then I stop tapping. Simple as that, right? It'll snap, and then you could wiggle it or slide it off. And what that will do is that will keep your chisel away from your cast, because it's going to snap before your chisel hits. If you're hitting it too much to stop, it might have put it in the wrong spot. For example, if I were to put it over here, it wouldn't snap very easily, right? It would probably end up touching the cast. So what I want to do is I want to be way out here towards the edge and kind of let the plaster break where it wants to break. Like if I break it here, it might go across like this, right? Who did I use that peanut butter jelly sandwich metaphor with? Lisa? The peanut butter and jelly sandwich metaphor. Where like if you're a kid and you want to bite, you want to get down to that peanut butter and jelly, so you start eating the sandwich and you get it all on your side, right? You don't want to do that. You want to take what's given. You take a bite and then you take another bite from the side and you kind of work your way down. Because it's not, you got to be patient, right? See, it snapped. And I snapped it way up here. It wasn't anywhere near my cast. Right here is part of my cast, by the way. See how nice and thin that is? It's 1/8 of an inch. If I start to go in here, I'm going to have a problem with it, holding together. So I'm going to come back over here, take some of those easy parts. And now I'm coming over, I can hit it like this, it'll come off that way. Okay. And a lot of this, again, is you knowing your cast. So we keep our fabric around, the real one, just so it'll remind us where we are. Maybe even the clay. The clay's gone now. You could keep it if you have it. Most of it's going to be gone. But if you had something where it came out clean, keep it, you know. It might remind you where you are. But keep the fabric. Theoretically, your fabric should look exactly like what you, but I guess not. Right? So here's a nice spot here where I can snap it. Okay. See how it's snapping perfectly? Some people, when they mold make, do their mold making, they'll put a little bit of blue dye or red dye in their mold so that you can see where you are. The reason I don't do that is because if you need to see where you are, then you're not chipping out right. You should, because you shouldn't be in control of it really. You're kind of allowing it to break where it needs to break. So if I'm seeing the green stuff or the dye, it means I'm too close anyway. So see how it's just snapping off nicely? So all this is casting. When you get into minor forms, it's just like got to be a little bit more delicate. And you were wondering if you see your fingerprints. There's my fingerprints. Okay, just slowly it's not coming up, so there it goes. I'm going to go under here and that should come off easy. Ah! And then you'll get some like little pieces that are down around. You'll have to dig those out. But you dig them out the same way. Right? What I do is I'll either take one of these chisels or a smaller one, or just a pin tool usually works on the really tight stuff. And you just kind of push it down. Just gently, and it'll go. It's too hard, and that was too easy of an area. But if you push down, just gently, sometimes you can kind of grab it in a way. This area is a little bit too out here. It's all about that snapping, you know. Okay. And then that little spot there, hit it too much, so maybe getting to the side and lifting it off. You'll have a lot more of this than I will. Sometimes I just use my pin tool and my